So here we go. We got some good news, bad news again. Tends to be my story. The bad news is he recognized the VC snipe on play and stacked Italy here from my two U.S. transports from being able to hit it. I could do 4 versus his 4 and 1, and I think it's like an 11% chance or something like that. And if I took it, and I took UK took this one, and I took that, and he didn't protect Shanghai over here, then we could have been able to pull off a victory. What I was hoping was to see him leave it completely open, and then be sitting at 7 of 10, and I wouldn't use a transport UK transport to take anything. So to get to US, Japan turn at 7 of 10, and maybe he leaves that open, and we take 3 freebies and get a win. I also I see it all the time in platinum. I get wins like that all the time in platinum. I wasn't necessarily expecting, as I said, he's a top 10 player. I didn't expect him to fall asleep to it. And like I said, most likely round 5 is my last chance for an allied VC win, because round 6 he's probably getting one of these two, and so it's going to become a much harder to pull off a VC snipe at that point. So, in any case, I did want to bring up. I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to pull this together real quick. Okay, I know that was just a flash for you guys, but I wanted to bring this over for those of you that were worrying about how I'm doing here. So with I tried to zoom it in just to my summaries of round by round summaries, and so this is my current game here with Toadstum. Remember, negative is good for me, positive is good for him. This is first column is number of units difference. So I have 4 more after round 1. I had 4 more units on the board than he did. 45 IPC in my favor, attack power, attack power in my favor, defense power in his. Total attack strength, for those of you that know my total TAS that I follow, and total defense strength. So I pulled up another game, KJF, I did with a UK twist that I ended up winning. It ended up being conceded in UK 10. Now this game, Moscow never fell, so that's a big reason. But if you look at the stats, these first 3 rounds, and unit count, I'm doing better. IPC value, I'm not doing as well. And attack power, attack strength is about the same. You'll notice in this game, I made notes here, like UK took DEI on UK4, US took Philly on US4, and then US took Borneo and retook DEI on US5. Here in this game, UK took DEI on UK3, US took Philly on US3. So I'm actually a little bit faster pace on my island taking so far in this game. Now, this game, again, I held on to Moscow, and that's the big reason that I was able to win that game. I set this one to the side. Now, this is the only other KGF game I've captured, a much more in-depth game. And just for the notices here, again, I killed the J Fleet on US4. Again, here we go. UK took DEI on UK4, Philly on US3, and then took New Guinea and Borneo on US4. And on this one, UK held on DEI the whole game. Here's the interesting part. I lost Moscow on G6 in this game. Again, it was another one that they took a shot on West Russia. I guess I need to stop offering it. They got very positive results. And so they were able to take Moscow on G6 and then India on G7. So, I mean, these 2 games tell me I need to work on that West Russia defense, I guess. Not giving a slightly negative odds, because it appears Axis is willing to take that. But you'll see in this game, again, we look at how the first 3 rounds went comparatively speaking versus what we've done so far in this game. And again, unit count, I was actually 14 units behind in that game. IPC value, I was 30 behind, and you can see I'm doing better in this game against Toadstorm than I was in the attack power and total attack strength statistics. Now, this game, I will tell you, it was a knockdown, drag out. They took India. I was able to firm up Burma and Thai, and trade Yunnan back and forth, and so it was a long time. But you can see I started building up high value units. This is my navy for the most part, and bringing in lots of transports as it was. And you can see even when the game ended, Axis ended up forfeiting on J16 when I had a 90% shot on Tokyo with US 16. This is the the game where it's very competitive left and right. Axis and allies. It's a long, drawn out game. This was an accelerated game because Moscow never fell, and it wasn't going to fall at that point because I was able to reinforce it. So, even though I've made mistakes in this game against Toadstorm, we're not out of it yet. So like I said, the bad news is he protected Italy. So the VC snipe's pretty much off the table, and I doubt he's going to give me an option in round 5 either, for that matter. So now, the good news is, to do that, he built 6 infantry throughout here, and that limited his tank build to only 2 additional new tanks and a bomber. He did build a bomber here, so we got to be mindful of that. But what that ultimately does is it gives me a glimmer of hope of holding on to G6. I mean, just the tiniest glimmer. At the very least, I can make it a very contested battle and make it a dicey battle for him, or a high IPC loss value for him. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to say that. But to do that, I need to get max planes on the board that can fly to Moscow, as we talked about. And if I can get 7 planes up there for the G6 attack, that includes him building 4 ground, it includes these guys moving in, it includes him transporting 2 more infantry up to the front line, and building 3 bombers. If I can do that, if I can make it to that point and get 7 planes here, then it gives him a 60% shot on Moscow, which a lot of times in KGS I'm willing to give them that because it's a high negative value too. And I won't abandon. And they may or may not take that shot, I don't know. If I could get 8 planes up there, well, then we're talking about possibly holding at a good number, right? So planes, 1, 2, 3, 4. One of these planes has to fly off. That gives me 3 fighters I can build here. Will give me 7 planes, 7 fighters. Now, US4, depending on what Japan does, is a possibility I can fly some of these fighters into range of Moscow the next turn. I'm not counting on that, though, because there's a number of things that can happen here. If you really look and you do the crunching, I did dead zone 62. I dead zone 60, even if you wiped it and moved his fleet and built, I've got that dead zoned. 61's dead zone. 36 is dead zone. These guys are all dead zone. So really, he can go ahead and let me bang my fleets up against his, or he's going to bail out towards Africa to create headaches that way, or take DEI and use a destroyer block in here. Possibly. I don't know. He may not have to use a destroyer block now that I look at it. So we'll see what he decides. The other option he has is, even though the odds are going to be in my favor, and it would be a fairly negative IPC value for Japan to do, he could go ahead and smash his 6 planes and his 9 units into India and knock down the number of fighters I have that can fly back into here the next turn. So that is a a possibility. I'm good against G5, but that would definitely give him G6 timing, but also that would pretty much neuter this fleet because they wouldn't have units to pick up and the fighters would be gone. So, not sure his route yet. The other thing that comes onto the board is he saved a couple IPC, so he's got 49 right now. So, look at my UK here. It's very thin, and so we got to really be respectful of the possibility of a sea lion. And if I'm building fighters down here instead of up here, and I'm flying this fighter down, that's going to open it up even that much more of a possibility now. I'm hoping to fly this one US fighter back up, as long as he doesn't attack India, but I can't count on that. So, long story short, I'm going to have all 3 transports in range of the UK one way or another, and we'll be ready to build 8 units there next turn if we have to. And I believe, with 49 IPC, he can build a carrier for 14 and then 5 transports. That's the fear. So I got to make it so that a carrier build alone is a bit scary for him. Or just defend against 5 transports, which I still haven't fully decided, and I'm actually going to have to pause because I'm debating my own decision again right now. I'm going to bring the bomber up here, and I'm going to have the 1 fighter, so we got a bomber fighter threat there. And I'm debating whether just to leave the cruiser here. I mean, he could take a shot at it with the bomber, but cruiser, bomber, fighter almost guarantees he didn't need to do something more than just the carrier. I'm debating building a sub, actually. That sub tips the table, and the sub doesn't have to worry about getting picked off. But I really would like to bring these guys down here to Morocco. So, all right, I'm gonna pull the calculator up one more time because I want to just double check my math. If he built a carrier and 5 transports, then he'll have 5 infantry and 5 tanks that he could transport, plus 5 fighters and a bomber. Now he could potentially bring this battleship out this way too, but I could throw one of my boats in here and that would prevent the battleship from being able to attack that turn. So it would not be able to participate in a G6 Sea Lion. Alright. So yeah, so this is the type of thing you gotta watch out for, right? But this is what I built out for the possibility of a G6 Sea Lion. With me, I'm gonna have 40 IPC with UK based on my plans. And so this is what my defense could be ultimately, and this is him doing 5 infantry, 5 tanks, 5 fighters, and a bomber, trying to take it. So it cuts it down to a 27% chance. So I feel comfortable with that. I do need to keep enough there that he has to build a carrier and not just put like a, well, so he has to build at least a carrier. Or build a boat, right? So yeah. I'm going to end up taking pressure off of Corellia, which I don't like doing, simply because, but the fact is, I mean, he could send tanks. He's got this stacked. He could send tanks up there, and he can protect it pretty easily. He doesn't really have to do much to hold it. So we are going to temporarily just take the pressure off of it so that I can bring more units down to Africa to start prepping the Africa defense. That's going to be coming around the corner. We know it's coming around the corner, right? There's no real question about that. So now, yeah, okay. The other interesting thing, I mean, he did give me the option to try to do a 1-2 here, but he could fly these fighters in to help protect, and so it's not really an option. I'm leaving the battleship live. I've got to take care of this battleship at some point, and that's where the sub-buy could have been helpful, but I don't think I'm going to go with it. I think I'm just going to go with 1 infantry, and I'm going to go with building 3 fighters down here. Now, I am going to be using one of my destroyers to put in here to prevent the immediate Japan raid of Africa. And yeah, so that's going to be our start and go there. I'm not going to build a factory here yet because he can probably take it, and I don't want to just give him a factory that he's just going to take, right? Okay. I'm going to give IPC to UK as much as possible. Let's see if he did 31 to build 6, he'd have to have 42. So as long as I got something there, we should be okay. All right. I realize I'm just going to put my bomber up there, but now I just realized my bomber's not going to fit up there because I want my bomber to go here. Notice I'm using my artillery because I'm going to use this infantry back as a blocker. Now, Japan can take it out, and if they do, then I got to be ready for that. But if he does take it out, that also tells me his intention of blitzing these tanks through the next turn, and I can always lay a U.S. fighter down. Not ideal, but that I'm ready to if I need to. That is my only attacks this turn. I'm trying to conserve my Russian units as much as possible. And I'm happy to blitz right now. UK can use the money because eventually they're not going to have money. A good chance they're going to lose money. So we're going to get them rich while we can. Alright. So, this is the debate, right? I could use this to land somewhere. He's got 2 fighters and a bomber that could hit here if I took both these, if I used the US, so still playing, he'd still clear it. But bringing him down here, I can have the cruiser destroyer, and all he has is the 1 bomber, so. Plus that keeps the battleship pinned in with the bomber that can come across and the cruiser, so. I was hoping for the nice, easy round 4 victory city win. Like I said, unfortunately, for me to win this game, as you can see from my graphic of the one that I had an early Moscow fall on G6, it means I gotta plan on a long game. And again, although I did hear Steam posted that they might be extending the season a little bit, so hopefully we'll get to see this game play out. Even with my mistakes and the fact that I'm still in it, I feel pretty happy about that. I'm just going to take this guy because they either can take it or they cannot take it, but, I mean, that one defense against 9 units and all his planes isn't worth wasting the dude. Yeah, I want this guy to help be dead zoning these. I was going to be okay with him over here, but... Hmm. Maybe, maybe not. Let's see. Well, we're gonna move the infantry there. Now, he could kill them. They're technically in a dead zone, but then he'd have to let these guys live, right? And so then I'd be able to re-attack. So I'm going to go ahead and move them in a technical dead zone, because I am going to be pulling some of these guys back. Now, of course, I can always just pull those guys back if I need to. Come on up to Iceland so that he can come to here or drop on a carrier next turn. I'm going to think twice on this guy. I mean, I will have this fighter, so he has to put a boat down. Which means you can only have 5 transports max. And I can defend against 5 transports. Do I need this bomber to be in range of there or not? I mean, everything says no, right? I'm going to put him on down in here. This does make me squeamish. I am not gonna lie. This makes me nervous. I feel like I could be overlooking something here, but at the same time, I feel like I should have. You know, he's gonna be able to bring 2 back. We're putting 1 in. I'll be able to build 8 units, so that'll give me 1, 2. 8 units makes 10. The 2 he's taking is 11 and 12. 4 units by the U.S. transports that could both reach back into here would be 16 units I could put there, which is what I have. And then he'd have 10 plus 5 plus 1. Alright, I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with it. I just I feel like I'm missing something here. Important. It's just one of these gut instincts that something doesn't feel right. And I hate that feeling. But, so, double check here. We should have a couple planes coming in. Plus we're building in there. Yeah, so I was just double checking. The India, he's got a 34% chance at negative, I don't know, 15 IPC or something. So IPC value may be worth it, but he's got to go all in on it. So, yeah. All right. Let's see. We can move these guys out of the way, right? Because he could double back that way and just wipe them. Not that they're going to do a lot of defense there either, but make them work. So we're going to put our 3 fighters in there. One dude, this feels very lonely. And I think what I'm not paying attention to, and this may be what ends up hurting me is a 1-2 type of build in here. But I'm hoping I'll be flying all these fighters up, and then it'll put a ruin to that. But this is very, 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 very scary. It does not feel right. This is what makes me very nervous. I don't know that I've ever had England this empty in a KJF. So that's what that looks like. Here's a little better view of this part of the board. Like I said, the good news is we're safe G5, and we might even be able to be safe G6. And then this is what we've got defending down here. He's got the one fighter that can join, but this is our defense. And here we've got mixed carriers and whatnot. And he's got 7 fighters that can hit this zone. Like I said, he could hit this zone, but he has to attempt to take here and anything he sends, because he's not going to be able to take this with the destroyer block. So, I mean, he can theoretically, but it's not beyond to be able to attack these and land in this zone and come in here. So anything he sends here will be sacrificial at best, and he'll have to sacrifice a unit against here and here. So I kind of like this little play that these guys should be safe. So all right, there we go. Quick end point on here. I remembered what I forgot, and that is the fact that he could bomb UK as well. And if he gets a hit there, that'll throw all my number crunching off, and could give him better options there. So right now I do think I have it at like a 25-30%, so he'd need to hit a couple IPC down. But that's the one thing I did forget, is that he could do a bombing run to limit my production there. Thankfully it's only one bomber right now. Later on that becomes more of an issue. Alright, there we go. That was my last little bit.